You've probably met her without realizing it. She's been in your office for 11 years. She drives a 2017 Hyundai Elantra with a cracked phone mount on the dash and a reusable grocery bag on the back seat. She brings lunch 4 days a week. She never mentions what her apartment costs, never talks about a vacation she just got back from, never drops a number into a conversation. You've assumed reasonably that she's comfortable but careful, that she probably has a decent 401(a) and not much else. What you don't know is that she has $2.3 million in index funds. Her mortgage was paid off 6 years ago. She hasn't had a car payment since 2019. Last year, her investments returned more than most people in the building earn in salary. She didn't tell anyone. There was nothing to tell. She was just living her life. This is what real wealth actually looks like. Not the version the internet sells you, and not the version driving the car you're supposed to want. Real wealth is almost always invisible. And once you know what to look for, you start seeing the signals everywhere. Here are 8 quiet signals that someone has actually built real wealth. The first signal is that they never mention what things cost, not when they buy something, not when they're deciding whether to buy something, and not when someone else buys something in front of them. Most people live with a running internal commentary about price. That's too expensive. I could never afford that. I paid way too much for this. It's a constant broadcast, and most people don't realize they're transmitting it. For someone with real accumulated wealth, money has largely become information rather than emotion. A number is a data point that helps them make a decision. It's not a source of pride or embarrassment or anxiety, it's just a number. Thomas Stanley and William Donko documented this clearly in The Millionaire Next Door, their 20-year study of more than 1,000 real millionaires across the United States. The majority of the wealthy individuals they studied did not talk about their income, did not mention the price of things they owned, and did not live in ways that required either hiding or advertising their financial position. Wealth simply existed in the background without needing an audience. The people who talked about money most were almost always the ones who had the least of it saved. When someone never mentions what something cost, they're not hiding it. It just stopped being interesting to them somewhere along the way. The second signal is that they use shopping lists, not a digital list, not a mental approximation. An actual list, and they use it. This sounds too small to matter. It isn't. Ramsey Solutions' National Study of Millionaires, the largest study of its kind ever conducted with more than 10,000 participants, found that 85% of millionaires rely on a grocery list when they shop. 28% always stick to it. 57% mostly stick to it. As a comparison point, non-millionaires spend about 57% more on groceries per month than millionaires do. Not because millionaires eat less. Because they decide what they need before they enter an environment designed to make them buy things they didn't intend to buy. The shopping list is not about groceries. It's about the habit of deciding in advance and then executing the decision. That same habit applied to every financial category, spending, investing, saving, is what separates people who accumulate wealth from people who wonder where their money went. The list is the small, visible piece of a much larger operating system. The third signal is that they seem genuinely unbothered by things going wrong. Expensive things going wrong. A car repair that would rearrange most people's month. A home issue that would require a difficult phone call to a family member. A medical bill that would sit on the counter for 3 weeks. When someone with real wealth encounters these events, the reaction is practical. What does it cost? Who handles it? When can it be done? There is no performance of distress. No extended explanation of how bad the timing is, just a problem being converted into a task. This is not emotional detachment. It's the result of having what behavioral economists call a financial buffer, resources large enough that a single unexpected expense doesn't cascade into a sequence of disruptions. Tom Corley's Rich Habits study, which tracked the daily activities of 233 wealthy individuals over 5 years, found that wealthy people almost universally maintained emergency reserves and described financial setbacks as inconveniences rather than emergencies. The problem gets solved, life continues, the composure isn't performed, it's structural. The fourth signal is that they ask different questions when making decisions. Most people, when they're considering a purchase, ask, "Can I afford this?" The answer to that question is almost always yes, in the narrow sense that the card will go through or the payment can be made. So the answer doesn't actually help them. It just clears the minimum bar and makes the purchase feel justified. People who have built real wealth ask a different question. They ask, what am I actually getting, and is that worth what I'm giving up? Not whether the number is manageable, whether the exchange makes sense. A direct flight costs $380 more than the connecting flight. The question isn't whether $380 is affordable. The question is whether 4 hours of time plus the risk of a missed connection plus the energy cost of a disrupted travel day is worth $380. Sometimes the answer is no. Often, once you've built enough wealth that your time is genuinely producing value, the answer is yes. The question itself is different, and the habit of asking it is part of why the wealth exists. Stanley and Donko identified this pattern explicitly. The prodigious accumulators of wealth they studied consistently evaluated purchases on long-term value rather than immediate affordability. The question changed, the outcomes followed. The fifth signal is that their friendships don't revolve around spending. The social baseline of most adult life involves spending. Restaurants, bars, concerts, travel, shopping. Shared consumption is how many people connect with each other. And there's nothing wrong with it, except that it quietly makes other people's spending habits the floor for your own. People who have built real wealth tend to have friendships that don't require continuous spending as proof of participation. They can suggest the walk instead of the restaurant, the dinner at home instead of the reservation, the free event instead of the expensive one, and mean it not as a performance of frugality, but as a genuine preference. Tom Corley's research found that wealthy people are highly selective about their social environment, specifically gravitating toward what he called rich relationships. Not people who are necessarily wealthy, but people who are goal-oriented, long-term focused, and not pulling them toward financial behavior that doesn't serve them. The invisible cost of keeping up socially is enormous over a lifetime. People who opt out of that competition don't look like they're opting out. They just seem comfortable wherever they are. The sixth signal is that they don't react when the market drops. This is one of the clearest tells, and most people never see it because financial conversations are almost never this specific. When markets fall sharply, most people with investment accounts either panic silently or panic loudly. They check their portfolios every hour. They talk about it. They feel the loss as personal, as permanent, as a signal that they should do something. Research from Goldman Sachs shows that missing just the 10 best trading days in the market since 2009 would reduce overall returns from approximately 17% per year to roughly 12%. The 10 best days almost always arrive during the most volatile periods, exactly when fear is highest and the urge to sell is strongest. People with real, long-term wealth treat a market decline the way a homeowner treats rain. It's happening, it happens sometimes. The foundation is fine. They're not investing for this quarter. They're investing for 15 or 20 years from now, and in that context, a 15% decline is a temporary discount on assets they intend to hold for decades. When the market turns red, they either do nothing or buy more. They don't explain this to people, because most people don't want to hear it. But you can tell by the absence of reaction. Calm in a crisis when everyone else is tense is a quiet signal with very loud implications. The seventh signal is that they never seem to be proving anything, not with what they wear, not with where they go, not with what they drive or where they live or how they describe what they do for a living. The consumer economy runs largely on social comparison. Luxury brands charge 40 times their manufacturing costs for a logo. Cars are marketed as signals of career success rather than transportation. Vacations are designed to produce images as much as experiences. The entire mechanism depends on the continuous feeling that you are being observed and evaluated, and that your purchases are part of your response. People who have built real wealth have largely stepped off this track. Not because they are morally superior to it, but because they've done the math and the trade isn't worth it. Every dollar directed at social signaling is a dollar that isn't compounding. The millionaire next door documented this directly. The most common characteristic among their subjects was that they simply did not care how their financial decisions appeared to other people. The external pressure that governs most people's spending had stopped having purchase on them. And once that pressure releases, the money that was going toward appearances can start going somewhere that actually builds. Go back to the woman in the building, the Hyundai Elantra, the reusable bag, the lunch 4 days a week. By now you understand every choice. She never mentions prices because the information stopped carrying emotion a long time ago. She uses a shopping list because she decides in advance and executes the decision. She's unbothered when things go wrong because the buffer is real and the problem is just a task. She asks what she's actually getting, not whether she can technically afford it. Her friendships don't require continuous spending as proof of participation. When the market dropped 20% in 2022, she bought more and didn't mention it to anyone. She doesn't prove anything with what she drives or wears or where she eats because the external pressure to perform wealth has nothing to do with actually building it. And she understands how the machine works because she spent years learning it, long before the machine was generating anything worth learning about. None of these are secrets available only to her. Every single one is a behavior, a choice made repeatedly until it became automatic. The Ramsey Solutions study of more than 10,000 millionaires found that 89% of them built their wealth from scratch, without inheritance, without executive titles, without a windfall. Teachers were among the top 5 occupations. The path was not complicated, it was consistent. The quiet signals are everywhere once you know what you're looking at. More importantly, they're available to anyone who decides to start sending them.